Welcome back to our channel, dear viewers. Today is a beautiful, reflective day to dive deep into the tangled web and generational secrets that keep us completely captivated. Beyond the Gates is never peaceful. For the past few months, Martin has been campaigning, arguably nearing the finish line, but a warning from Bill has plunged him into contemplation and anxiety. Which path will Martin choose? Let's delve deeper. The content is for informational purposes only. The human heart is a relentless drum, and for some, its beat is indistinguishable from the march of ambition. Martin, portrayed with such piercing intensity by Brandon Claiborne, is a man entirely consumed by the intoxicating allure of power and the heavy, often suffocating mantle of his family's legacy. Do you remember the palpable tension of last year? The sheer audacity of his dreams when he set his sights on the ultimate prize, the presidency. Yet, that soaring dream was abruptly grounded by the very people who share his blood. His family formed an impenetrable wall, forcing him to abandon his run. They knew the ghosts of the past were waiting. The recent, desperate cover-up made a national campaign a suicide mission, leaving Martin a wounded lion hungering for redemption. But a fire like Martin's cannot be extinguished by a single downpour of reality. It merely retreats to the embers. This year, the flames have roared back to life with a new objective. Martin has recalibrated his trajectory, setting his sights on the United States Senate. To sit in the Senate is to don the mantle once worn with such distinction by his grandfather, the venerable Vernon, brought to life with heartbreaking gravitas by Clifton Davis. For Martin, this campaign is a desperate plea for validation, a yearning to prove he is a worthy heir. Yet, the tragic irony is that the higher he climbs, the more precarious his footing becomes. The old, sinister problems that derailed him last year have calcified into a permanent, hidden rot at the foundation of his life. The impending collision between Martin's soaring aspirations and the anchoring weight of his hidden sins brings us to an emotionally charged dynamic. Imagine the sheer, raw vulnerability of the moment Martin must finally sit across from Vernon to confess his fears. Here is a formidable man reduced to a trembling child seeking absolution from the patriarch. Martin's heart must be heavy with the agonizing realization that his past is a ticking time bomb, fully capable of obliterating the impeccable legacy Vernon spent a lifetime building. How does one look into the eyes of the man they idolize and admit they might be the architect of the family's ruin? The air is thick with unspoken regrets, punctuated only by the deafening roar of Martin's internal panic and absolute dread. And what of Vernon? How will this proud, aging titan react when the grandson he loves fiercely lays bare the terrifying fragility of their situation? Vernon is a man who has navigated the ruthless corridors of power and understands the brutal nature of the public eye. His immediate instinct, honed by decades of protecting his bloodline, is a primal urge to shield Martin from the storm. But beneath that protective armor lies a soul-crushing sorrow. Vernon is intimately aware of the moral compromises endured to keep Martin's path clear. To realize those desperate measures might have been in vain, that the secrets they thought were buried are clawing to the surface, is a profound tragedy. Vernon grapples with the horror that his love has linked him to a devastating scandal. The central, agonizing question hanging over every move Martin makes is this: will the dark, meticulously hidden past suddenly erupt into the public consciousness just as he stands on the precipice of his Senate campaign? Politics is a blood sport, and the moment a candidate declares their intentions, they step under a microscope that magnifies every hidden sin. Martin is attempting to build a gleaming tower of civic virtue on a foundation of lies and deceit. The anxiety permeating his every waking moment is palpable. Every flash of a camera, every probing question from a journalist feels like a potential death sentence to his career. The dramatic tension is excruciating, a slow tightening of the noose as we wait for the pristine facade to crack and reveal the ugly truth. But secrets of this magnitude do not merely reveal themselves. They are wielded as weapons by those who possess them. The terrifying reality for Martin is that he is not in control of his own destiny. Who is the phantom figure holding the explosive dossier of his darkest moments? The chilling revelation that Joey holds the keys to Martin's destruction shifts the entire landscape. Joey is a wild card, a master manipulator who understands the intoxicating power of leverage. But the plot thickens with the involvement of Bill. Bill is acutely aware that Joey possesses this world-shattering secret. This brings us to a fascinating intersection of motives. Perhaps Bill's actions are not born of malice, but a desperate, twisted attempt to save Martin from becoming Joey's pawn. Let us delve deeper into the intricate psychology of Bill's involvement. If Bill knows Joey holds the power to utterly annihilate Martin's life, his intervention takes on a desperate, almost heroic, yet deeply destructive quality. Bill might view Martin's Senate-run not as a triumph, but as a march toward a slaughterhouse. By allowing Martin to proceed, Bill knows he is allowing him to step directly into Joey's trap, forever beholden to a blackmailer. Therefore, Bill's potential leaking of information might be an agonizingly calculated move. He may believe it is better for Martin's political career to die a swift, painful death now, rather than allowing Joey to slowly bleed him dry. Bill's internal conflict adds profound moral ambiguity to this tragic tapestry. As the inevitable rumors begin to circulate, as the first faint tremors of the scandal shake the foundation of Martin's carefully orchestrated campaign, how will he react? Martin is a man accustomed to control, to shaping narratives to his will. But a scandal of this magnitude is a beast that cannot be tamed by mere charisma. When whispers turn into headlines, Martin will face a psychological unraveling. We will witness the agonizing deterioration of a man who realizes his ambition is impotent against the cold reality of his past actions. Will he double down on the lies, becoming increasingly paranoid, or will the overwhelming weight of guilt and impending public humiliation finally break him? Watching a titan fall is a deeply unsettling, tragic inevitability. In the face of this impending catastrophe, Vernon's role becomes increasingly critical and heartbreaking. What will this proud patriarch do to protect his grandson when he realizes the family demons are being violently resurrected? Vernon will likely marshal every resource and utilize every ounce of his formidable influence to plug the leaks and silence the whispers. But there is a terrifying desperation to his actions. He is fighting a war on two fronts, battling external forces seeking to destroy Martin, and desperately trying to manage the internal rot of the family's guilt. Vernon must know that every lie he tells to protect Martin only deepens his own complicity. His protective instinct is ultimately the very mechanism that may guarantee their mutual destruction. Yet, the most agonizing, emotionally devastating element of this entire saga is the treacherous betrayal of Vernon's own mind. The tragic reality of Vernon's declining memory introduces a ticking time bomb into an already volatile situation. For our viewers who have walked the painful path of watching a loved one succumb to cognitive decline, this storyline resonates with unbearable authenticity. Vernon's mind, once a steel trap of guarded secrets, is slowly, cruelly unraveling. The terrifying prospect is not just that he will forget names, but that the walls holding back the truth of the cover-up will crumble. What happens if, in a moment of disorienting haze, Vernon accidentally confesses? The sheer terror that the downfall might come from a slipping mind breaks the heart. At the dark, beating heart of this entire labyrinth of lies lies the ultimate mystery, the secret behind the death of Kenneth. This is the original sin, the catastrophic event that set this multi-generational tragedy in motion. What truly happened on that fateful day? Was it a moment of reckless negligence, a crime of passion, or a tragic accident horribly mismanaged? The truth surrounding Kenneth's demise is the black hole from which no light can escape, pulling everyone into its destructive orbit. The audience is left to agonize over the details, knowing it was horrifying enough to warrant a cover-up that corrupted the souls of everyone involved. The unearthing of this truth will be an emotional earthquake that shatters the very foundations of the family. And what of Vernon's specific role in the aftermath of Kenneth's death? The revelation of his involvement in the cover-up is perhaps the most devastating blow of all. Here is a man revered for his public service, whose entire legacy is built on a facade of integrity. To discover he used his power and intellect not for the greater good, but to obstruct justice and conceal a horrific truth to save his grandson, is a profound moral failing. When the light of truth pierces the darkness, Vernon will be forced to face a reckoning beyond the court of public opinion. Will he face criminal charges for hiding the circumstances of Kenneth's death? The prospect of an elder statesman facing legal ruin in his twilight years is a stark reminder that no one is above the law. Beyond the sterile, terrifying reality of legal consequences, Vernon must face an even more agonizing tribunal, the judgment of his own conscience and the moral outrage of those who trusted him. How does a man reconcile a lifetime of doing good with one monumental, unforgivable act of corruption? The moral consequences of his actions will be a heavy, suffocating shroud. He will have to look into the eyes of his family and acknowledge the profound pain his deception has caused. The destruction of a reputation is terrible to witness, but the destruction of a man's soul, as he realizes the true cost of his desperate love, is a tragedy that lingers long after the final gavel falls. Vernon's journey is a cautionary tale about the blinding nature of familial devotion. As we stand on the precipice of this inevitable, catastrophic revelation, we are left to ponder the most heartbreaking question of all. Who will ultimately bear the heaviest burden when the truth of Martin's cover-up is laid bare? Will it be Martin, whose soaring ambitions will be reduced to ash, forever branded a fraud? Will it be Vernon, whose illustrious legacy will be erased, his final years marred by disgrace? Or will the true victims be the innocent members of their family, those who knew nothing of the darkness but will be caught in the devastating blast radius? The collateral damage of such a massive deception is immeasurable, leaving a trail of broken hearts and shattered trust. It is a stark reminder that secrets always demand a terrible price. In the end, this sweeping saga is not merely a story about political ambition. It is a profoundly human drama about the lengths we go to protect those we love, and the inescapable consequences of our choices. It speaks to the deepest fears of any parent or grandparent, the terror of seeing our children fail, and the agonizing temptation to compromise our own souls to save theirs. As we watch Martin stubbornly march towards his political destiny, and Vernon desperately try to hold back the tide of truth with a mind that is tragically betraying him, we are reminded that the past is never truly past. We will be watching, hearts in our throats, as this magnificent, tragic tapestry unfolds, knowing that when the final thread is pulled, their entire world will crash down.